Good evening, people. Hey, Stephen Bonacore, thank you very much for showing up. I'm trying to fix something. Okay.
Did you think I wouldn't show up? Like, you make it sound like it's like a surprise that I would show up like on a podcast or a video or anything.
Well, the thing is that Uwe's been an ongoing guest on this In Conversation, mostly catered towards war gamers, but not really. It's whatever, a thing of interest. And Stephen Bonacore is just recently retired. Congratulations, Steve. He was president, big man, CEO of Stronghold Games. Just the stocks that he left with, the amount of money is gross. Is gross. That's and Stephen is well, I mean, he's president of Stronghold Games.
It was enough to retire. We'll put it that way. It was enough to retire. We'll put it that way. It was not gross, but enough to retire.
And he was sought after by the gaming community, but his fee was quite expensive, and only the Dice Tower can afford him. So he's on the Dice Tower every Thursday, aren't you, Stephen?
Thursday, 10 a.m. we do board game breakfast.
Yeah.
But also I have my own podcast, which is Board Games Insider. I've been doing it for many years, through the Stronghold days with Ignacy Chevicek of Portal Games. And we, of course, talk about the games industry, how it works. We take questions from the audience, talk about the news and things like that. But Dan, thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, it's great.
I want to do nothing more on a Sunday night than to spend time with Uwe Eckert, because Uwe was my
talk a little bit about
in the industry here. I haven't seen him now in a year and a half at least. I love the man.
Let's talk a little about Uwe. Uwe's a cab driver. Okay, so let's go on.
What's wrong with the cab driver?
Nothing. They're making more money than I am, let me tell you. Okay, so look, our topic today.
Cab driving driverless right now, making me money. So remember that.
Oh, I got the screen there. I want to remove that screen in the back. It's bothering. I'm ADD. You know what I'm saying? I got my new camera. We're just working things out here. I'm redoing my studio. See, and I really went crazy at IKEA. But anyways, Uwe is the president, owner, CEO of Academy Games, and Uwe, you have a sister company now, which is called.
We have two divisions. We have Apollo Games, which is for sci-fi fantasy, because we don't want to confuse our Academy Games being mainly historical and things like that. And then our Apple Tree Games is for the homeschool markets, things like that.
And I'm just curious, because I know your games are showcased in a lot of schools, a lot of classes. And does Freedom fall under the sister company?
No, that's Academy Games.
That's Academy Games.
It also has the Apple Tree logo on the back, the newer ones, and roughly around 40% of our sales are to the military and homeschool markets. Look
at that, eh? And I'm glad I got you guys here. Stephen, especially not being a war gamer, but the thing is, he's a publisher. So my first question to you, Stephen, because I know what you're going to say, Uwe. Stephen, being president, having that responsibility of putting a game out, because it's funny, just thinking about it, putting a game out, that's really simple. Just put out a game. What happened to Uwe?
I don't know. Did you hit a button?
He's gonna pop up. So Stephen, just saying, hey, let's put out a game.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine all the different levels of what that means. So from inception, let's say I pitch a game to you, Stephen. It's good. We're printing it. How long?
That is a very variable amount of time. On the shortest possible end, for the smallest game, it's 6 months. For anything of any complexity, 1 year, 18 months. It really depends on what the focus of the company is going to be. If you're going to focus all your effort and bring in resources to get something done, of course, you can accelerate it. So there's just a lot of steps involved, and both Uwe and I have gone through this whole thing. So every game is going to be a little bit different, and some of the more complicated games, complicated productions are obviously going to take a longer time. So I mean, and even saying an average number wouldn't even make sense.
I know.
Big production could take years. A small little production could take 6 months.
Uwe, is that your experience?
Well, my experience is this. When Stephen was running Stronghold Games, he was pumping out 15 to 18 games a year.
Now, hold on. I'm not a publisher. Is that something? Is that something incredible?
We put out 2 games a year for lucky.
Okay. I just wanted to put in perspective here.
Okay.
But there was a difference in our business models, and that's sort of something that's a good. Your business model was you're bringing a game in-house, you're taking it from the ground up every time. And that's wonderful, right? You say, I love this design. Let me bring this design to life. Let me take
we want to make every game a game of the year. Yeah.
Right. Let me take this thing that is just chits and a piece of paper and crayon that the guy wrote on and take it to a published game. We worked almost 80% of our games plus were with partners in Europe who did all the work.
Yeah.
They did all the work. All my stuff I did with 2F-Spiele and Lauter Pellet and the Spielworks. They're all games that all the art was done.
Right.
The language was translated. The rules were laid out. So it's a lot easier to take that in, slap a logo on, and go. And those games, of course, you turn those around very fast, under 3 months. But we're talking about the games that you're going from the ground up. Sure, that's going to take time. And you guys have done an amazing job putting out your 2 games a year and making them beautiful, fully fleshed out and all that. I give you kudos. I love the stuff that you guys have been doing over the years.
So what you're saying, Stephen, that your stuff is not fully fleshed out and beautiful as Academy games. Don't shoot yourself in the head here.
What the 2 models are these. Stephen put out, when the Europeans come out with a game, you can judge how good a game is in sales and everything. You get the English language rights and you publish them then in America or in English language.
Right.
Where our model is that, and this is where the difference long term is, where we need to build it from the ground up because we own all intellectual properties to 95% of our games. Because in our case, we're looking for long term, what's a company's assets worth if it's not their intellectual property. The bad part is that games are much more costly to the company to develop that way. So he was putting out 15, 20 games and making tons of money. And then he gets a freaking Terraforming Mars, one of the best games. And I can't wait till my deluxe version comes in the next few months. So, and that's one of the last times we called. I sent to Stephen about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I sent him pictures of all these cool miniatures for Terraforming Mars, for the cities domed and everything that we wanted to do. I said, we want to do this. What do you think? We're ready to do a Kickstarter and get this thing out in 6 months. He says, I'd appreciate if you didn't do that because we're working on something like that. And we're going to do that.
That's funny. So, I did not remember that until just now. You said, like, I really want to do this so we can partner with this. I'm like,
it all done. Want you to partner.
Yeah, maybe. No, don't do that. Please don't do that.
And you know what I got out of it? Nothing. Not one free game.
I would have sent you a copy. Just, you buy me 1 beer, I send you copies of games. I'm a cheap date, man. Right here. Like, buy me a beer, you get a game.
But is phenomenal.
So Stephen, how often does a Terraforming Mars come around in the life of a CEO? Like in your lifetime that you've been CEO, how many Terraforming Mars has there been?
1 for me. 1. Terraforming Mars is Terraforming Mars. It's the intellectual property, the game, the buzz, everything about it. That's a once. Well, for a smallish kind of company. That's the once in the company's history kind of thing. And it, of course, propelled Stronghold to the next level. Asmodee, they've got many of them, but they bought their way into quite a few of those, which is wonderful. I mean, they did an amazing job of acquiring the right companies to make themselves the phenomenon that they are right now. But when you do have something like that, when you have an uber evergreen, it's not just an evergreen, not a game that's just going to sell, anything that sells, 10,000 copies to 20,000 copies a year, evergreen, you can really kind of just pump that through, and that's nice, and you can keep a nice revenue stream and while you work on other projects. When you get a Terraforming Mars that does tens of thousands of copies per year, it brings you to a whole nother level, and it makes you very attractive for, mergers and acquisitions, which obviously the company was when we merged with Indie Boards and Cards. And the rest of it is history, and it continues. And we're going to have, as Uwe mentioned, we're going to have this great I keep saying we, even though I'm not part of the company. Stronghold is going to have this great big box coming out within the next few months with all of the terrain pieces, and quasi-exclusive for you, there's going to be a Kickstarter project coming up very soon for another game in the Terraforming Mars line.
Look at that. Okay, so sorry, Uwe, I'm on a roll here. So, Stephen, when you do get a Terraforming Mars, so he's your star client. He's the guy that's gonna bring in the crowd. So, what happens to second-rate people like me who are in your company? As I'm thinking of this like an agent. You know what I mean? Like an agent who's got artists, right? Okay. It doesn't work that way. It's like there's Terraforming Mars will keep working on itself, not taking too much energy away from other projects.
No, when you have a game like that, when you have a game that's going to sell that many units, just the base game, that kind of just is on autopilot. It's on autopilot.
Okay.
You basically have to put no effort into continuing to sell tens of thousands of units a year, which is wonderful. So that's just like, you're just going to make sure you hit the print button at the right time and don't go out of stock, which is a thing in and of itself, and the logistics associated. But that's just on autopilot. You're still going to go out. You're going to look for either the next one of those or just great projects to keep bringing out and bring to the market. Designers still come to you and they want to work with you, and they want to bring in they want to have their latest game, or another partner wants to bring in one of their cool games from Europe that you want to do. So you'd still do all those other projects, but the terraforming thing just will fund you as you go along to take some risks on other games.
Now, when you get a superstar like Terraforming Mars, I'm talking about the game like it's a person. What was I going to say? When you get Terraforming Mars, now, did Terraforming Mars come to you, or did you find Terraforming Mars? And is there a difference in bonus if you find a Terraforming Mars instead of Terraforming Mars coming to the company?
So two-part question. The first part is that we were introduced to Fricks Games, who owns the IP. Stronghold Indie does not own the IP. Fricks Games was going to make this game, and our printer out in Europe, Ludofac, said, "Hey, you do space-related games. Why don't you talk to these young guys here? You can help them out, maybe make their game even better, and give them worldwide distribution," because they had nothing. They had a great idea for a game. They were going to make the game, and they wanted to license it out to various people. So we spent a year working with them. So it was almost a hybrid model where, yes, they own the IP, yes, they develop it, and yes, they even make the production happen for us. But we spent a year working with them, iterating and play testing to say, okay, this is a good game. Let's take it to the next level, make it a great game, sending it out to various play testing groups and things like that. And then it became that we ended up with worldwide English rights and in perpetuity, and they control the rights to all the other languages and hand them out. Now, terraforming is now done in at least 20 different languages worldwide.
I guess that's good, eh?
That is really good. But we only control the English rights, and they control everything else. And they, like, if you go out and play the very nice implementation, the online implementation, that's 100% Fricks Games. They get, Asmodee Digital did the game, but they get all the revenue from that. And I'm very happy that they do. Physical games fuel digital games fuel physical games. That's one of those things that have been found out over time. So I'm very happy for them and their success as well.
So Uwe, in Academy Games, what is your Terraforming Mars?
We're a different little model where we have, I'd say about 80% of our games are evergreen because we reprint every single one of our games, other than games maybe than Tutor and all, which we did like Stephen did, where we got the rights, English language rights from another publisher. And those usually are standalones. But our games, like I've said before, our Awakening the Bear, just one game in the series of Conflict of Heroes, is now coming up to 60,000 units sold. And that's
incredible.
For a war game, every
Fantastic.
game in the series. Then like our Birth of America, the Vikings, 1775, sell over and over. And those probably sell more copies than probably 98% of the games out on the market also. It's only that 2% of the games that hit the gaming market that are hitting over the 30,000 copies sold. And most games out there, even Euro games, you're hoping, because there's so many games being now introduced. Last year alone in 2019, what was it? 7,800 new games published that year. 7,800. Of those 7,800, 95% of the gamers heard of maybe 400 of them. And of those 400, you're going to have 20 that really hit it.
Yep.
And so, as I said, we only put maybe 2 games out a year, but we do them in series as evergreen. And it's a more frustrating model than what Stephen did, because he was very successful, put out 15, 20 games. It was just like you and one other person in your staff, right? I mean, how you did it, I don't know. He pumped out games. He was like, he was like a crack whore selling products on the corner, and people are lining up for it.
Did he just call me a crack whore? I love it.
No, I'm sorry. You were the pimp.
Oh, Jesus.
That's great.
Good gaming term, You're like, damn, how's he do it, And so it's different business models, which, in the long term, it takes us longer to build up. But once we have, 20, 30 games that we then license out to other people, it's a little rougher. So putting out 2 games a year is much more cost. It costs a lot more. But hopefully in the long term, it pays off.
Can anybody answer this question on the screen, please?
Yeah, I saw the question from Matthew here. So the first thing I'd like to say about that is that publishers don't steal things. We just don't. We just there's never a people worry you have to sign an NDA before you look at this. Well, first of all, no, we're not.
What's an NDA?
An NDA is a
agreement. Okay.
Non-disclosure agreement, and that's a very standard. That's not this industry term. That's a business term. People sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, when they are sharing information that is not public, that you don't want to go outside of the entities involved in the NDA. So we will not do that. And people in general in the industry would not probably sign an NDA for something. But publishers aren't looking to steal a designer's stuff. If they look at something and it looks good, they want to make a deal with you. If it doesn't look good, then do it. It's kind of never seen it. Definitely that has occurred. So they shouldn't. So Matthew, you shouldn't really worry too much about that. Now, if you worry about a designer taking your ideas, well, similarly, sort of mechanisms are not copyrightable. They're not trademarkable and copyrightable either. You can't, deck building, everybody can use it. Area control, everybody can use it. So if you're going to put your stuff out there to get a very wide scale of playtesting, there's a little bit of worry, but not a lot of bit of worry. You probably, if you're going to get playtesting, people to playtest your game, you should probably go to not the internet, but some subset of the internet of people that are going to look at your game. But for the most part, theft of your design and things like that just really doesn't occur very much in the industry. Uwe, I assume you'll kind of agree with that.
Well, didn't that happen with
I've seen designers rip off a lot from other designers, and
but mechanically,
no, taking full games and just putting a new face on them.
Interesting. Okay, do you? He's got he's a very negative guy, this Uwe.
No,
He's
I'm not.
German.
No, you asked me a question.
Oh, I want to hear it.
I've seen people take games and put a new face on them. Look what happened to Trains. What was Trains? It was Dominion, and they put a little board and used Dominion. I mean, even the cards and everything were the same.
What's he talking about? Trains? Is he talking about
the game Trains?
Ride?
No. Trains. Who was the designer?
The same company? Did the same company do both of those games?
No, of course not.
Rio Grande?
You take Dominion, put a board on it. It was Dominion with a cool twist, and I'm glad they did it. But it happens. I've seen designers go to one company, give a game, and then go to another publisher the very next with the same game with a different blanket over it. And it never happened to us, but I can give you. I'm not going to say it online here, but main companies that took them to court, they had problems with it because of things like that. But with a designer coming to a publisher and worrying about the publisher ripping it off, it won't happen because we're in the business long term. This is our business. And the designers are looking long term for the future, and we're looking long term with designers. Every single one of the designers we've ever worked with, we're still working with, because that's a good lifeblood for us to bring in really good new ideas. So I wouldn't really, and I'm not saying I love Trains. It's one of my favorite games. I love Dominion. I'm just saying where one designer goes, what a great idea. I'm going to take it and make it better. And I've seen that left and right.
I'm going to disagree with you that it was a direct ripoff. They used the same. They used a mechanism and made a game different. Mm-hmm. But that's we're kind of splitting hairs on that. But I think the point was publishers don't try to do that ever. No. They see it, they don't like it, they pass. They like it, they make a deal with you. So we're not in the business of stealing things. We want to just grab a great game and from you, sign a contract, and then run with that game.
Well, talking about the trust and the camaraderie that publishers have, I've only been to one convention, believe it or not. What?
I'm sorry. I'm saying hello to Scott.
Oh, sorry. See, I forgot what I said. I forgot what I was saying now.
One convention.
Oh yeah. Uwe, don't do that again. Uwe, don't do that again.
Go ahead. Keep going.
What was I going to say?
Oh, can I actually? Oh, so these are. Oh, I didn't even know I can look at the comments as they're coming in, and then you can. Put them up there.
I just
get back to Kabuki Kid. You have a friend of mine showed up here. Kabuki Kid showed up.
I put up
the question.
This is the question.
There you go.
I got something to say. It's my show.
You lost control of the show when you put me and Uwe on the show. You lost control.
I knew that.
At 6:30 on a Sunday when I can have a beer. If you did it in the morning.
Anyways, when I've only been to one convention, and 99%, 98.2% of all the publishers and designers all hung around and talked and had a great time. But there's always that one publisher who's a real prick. I'm talking about war games. War games. Does that happen in non-war games? And you are more... Now, actually, Uwe, you've been to Origins. You go to Origins. You go to all these big shebanging places. Uwe, is it the same thing? Actually, you're better to ask. Is it the same thing?
In the gaming industry in general, the newer companies, we're very tight. I'm in a CEO group of probably 5 of the best well-known Eurogame companies in America or in the world. And we help each other out with everything. Then I'm another group with other publishers where we help each other out in every way we can. And this is in the entire industry that way. Where I see the most head-to-head are the old school guys who lived through the 80s and 90s together. And there's a lot more history and animosity with them because they've been at a lot longer. And you come in, you go, whoa, I didn't know this was going on. That happened to us 20 years ago. But
it's palatable, man. You could taste it. I remember walking into WBC and it's like, there was one section that was just like, yee.
Well, it's in general, the war gamers all get along because it's a small industry, and we're very lucky that the war game companies that have survived so far now, they've survived because they are very versatile. They're very open. We help each other out. We talk together a lot, and it's not a fake industry. It's not like you're doing it just because you feel you have to.
Right.
They're really great guys. GMT, the guys, Andy, and the fellows there with Worthington Games.
Yeah.
You look at you look at Flying Pigs and Mark Walker, who luckily has a really good-looking daughter with him at that make people come to his booth.
She plays a mean classical guitar, man.
Does she?
Oh man.
And wait, what are you saying? Everybody knows
what
Mark Walker is. He wrote his zombie vampire horror books from personal experience. But his daughter is that beautiful, she knows war games inside and out and could be a War Game News cover model.
The Podfather disavows all knowledge of what is going on.
No, that's fine. It's fine.
It's truth. And you look at, and then who else is Lock and Load Games?
Yeah.
David Heath, great guys, all
great
of them.
Guy.
So it's a very tight industry. But in the Euro game industry, also, I look at the guys at Yellow, and I look at the guys from Queen Games and Gamelin Games, and all these. They're all very open. They get along very well.
You're talking about in Europe, the Origins, the Essence crowd.
Yeah, the main publishers in America.
I completely agree with everything except for the guy's daughter. I don't know anything about that. I'm not talking about that. But all the publishers are very sharing, very open. We all do. We hang out. So both on the war game side, apparently, and I know, of course, in the main part of the hobby, we simply hang out, like each other, go out to dinner, go out for drinks after the show. It's a very, very friendly. We are friendly competitors, and I use that in the absolute most true, best way. We are.
I know say that the people here have it right. They say we don't need a cover girl model. We've got Dan.
Yeah, right there.
Dan, I hate to say it. You got a better camera now, so you need to put on a little more makeup.
That's gross. But anyways, there's always one in the bunch. I think in anything, there's always one in the bunch. As content creators, and I'm going to ask both of you a question concerning content creators, okay? Even content creators, there's always that one guy who's a manipulative scum of the earth all the time. But anyways, did I just say that?
You did.
Okay.
I think from the designers, there are many more designers who don't have the interpersonal skills.
No, you're talking about social skills. You're talking about basic social skills.
Right. And I've met so many designers who have got this great game, and we don't want anything to do with them because they just have no social group work together skills. From the design standpoint, 80% of them are great. Yep. 20% of them are like, but they're not the ones who are ever going to be successful.
It makes me think of something, and I'm not being facetious here, okay? When I met you, when I met Steven, when I met Mark Herman, when I met David, all the designers, there's one thing that came to my mind is how brilliant you guys are. Brilliant, which led me to believe, because I worked in mental health for 20 years, that all you guys have Asperger's.
Why?
Because how can you be that smart? How can you be Uwe? How can you be that smart? Because I know Uwe. I talk to Uwe a lot. How can you be that smart and good looking and your hair's perfect? What's the matter with you?
He really has the whole package.
I don't hair this morning.
He's the Ubermensch.
He is Ubermensch. He is.
Dan, it's all relative.
No, because you know they're super smart people. Mark Herman, bloody hell.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a set of skills.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just talking about the war game skills, because if we're going to talk about skills, I'd blow you guys away. But anyways, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the board game world here. Let's not talk about anything else, because I don't want to embarrass you.
Okay.
Uber?
I'm not going to, I agree. When the lights go out, your skills go up. But in the spotlight here, we are...
Wow, we're kind of off the rails. I like it. I like it.
So someone, if the COVID has affected the numbers in the market, and if so, how growth can be sustained. So what do you think there, Stephen?
What's the question? Has COVID affected?
Talking about growth sustained the AI.
Scott,
have we seen a increase in sales due to COVID this year? So at the beginning of the year, it looked, well, the beginning of when we really understood COVID and the lockdown started, it was ugly for a short period of time. In fact, I was still working with Stronghold, and I was still looking at the numbers and managing the numbers. We had 1 month of sales. I believe it was April sales to distribution, right? So everyone understands the hobby, right? We sell to distributors sell to retailers sell to you guys out there. We had sales to distribution essentially zero. It was like a $1,500, $1,700. That's zero. That was a little, wow, we're in trouble here. However, at the same time, Amazon sales went through the roof and continued very, very, very high. And then distribution's starting to come back. So when I left Stronghold, the last month's sales that I got to see, Stronghold was ahead of the previous year by 15% year over year, all channels, all parts of the sales channels. Overall, I think the industry is going to be, my guess is not up. Not up. Right. It's just still hard to be selling games when parts of the channels, major parts of the channels, are closed. Right. Closed to some degree or another. Retailers are closed, distributors are closed, somebody's closed. Amazon's are growing, of course. Amazon's huge, but is that going to happen across the world and all that? So I'm pretty sure 2020 is going to be a down year, but
you mean 2021?
2020 is still going to be a down year overall for the whole. We don't know what the industry yet for everybody. I know. Right. I'm telling you, Stronghold was up. I don't know what Academy did. I don't know about Asmodee did. I'm saying 2020 probably going to be a down year. 2021, I can't tell you yet. But with the amount of people that have been sort of dragged in a grassroots kind of way because, they pushed their family to buy more games. They told a few other people about games. They did games over Zoom. I think the industry is in a great place moving forward. I think we're going to see some of those companies, some of the smaller companies who couldn't get past this hurdle, maybe go out. But I think overall, long term, we're going to be in a very good place moving forward, 2021, 2022, and on.
I'm voting for you, Stephen.
Yes, vote for Bonacor.
We're a little different. 45% of our sales are overseas, and I think Stronghold was mainly America's sales, weren't they, Stephen?
60-40. So we had plenty. We had PSI, as you did, right, or do, right? You use PSI for your worldwide distribution, so yes, we had more sales in North America than the rest of the world.
Stephen, can you explain PSI, please?
PSI is what is known as a consolidator. They are an extra layer in the industry between the publisher and the distributor. So They're a sales rep. They're a warehousing, sales, and fulfillment company. So they sit in between and they sell your game for you.
Professional services industry, I think.
Now, is
Publisher Services Incorporated.
Is it necessary to have all these middlemen? Because obviously, when people work, you gotta pay them, so the cost of the game goes up. That's what it is.
I want to before we go into that, because that's a whole different topic, which is very interesting. From the standpoint of sales, I think we're going to see a winnowing out of a good high percentage of game companies are going to go kaput. The established companies like Stronghold, ourselves, things like that, are going to come out of this, I think, stronger, because our sales, when you said, distribution went down, but then also Amazon quit shipping non-essential products. So if you were fulfilled by Amazon, your games were not fulfilled in March, April, May. So if that was your venue, you were screwed. Luckily, we were fulfilled by manufacturer. Our distributors, our fulfillment companies shut down. They shut down those months. So our problem was that we lost probably 60% of our sales worldwide because people were shutting borders, fulfillment companies were shutting down, things weren't being shipped. We were going through some more trade war things. It was tough, but the difference was we were doing fulfilled by manufacturer through Amazon and our websites. So all of a sudden, where we were making 34 cents on the dollar, all of a sudden we're making 76 cents on the dollar, which means our profit really quintupled. Plus our games, as say, are very evergreen. We printed most of our games last November. We were sold out by March already. And
now, is that a good thing when something sells out so quickly?
Yeah, because people are buying your games. And people are buying games and puzzles like crazy.
It's called a good problem to have when you when you're out of stock. It's not, you don't want to go out of stock, but if you go out of stock, that means you sold games.
I guess.
So here's a weird stat. So we had overprinted due to circumstances, because we printed a little bit in Europe, we printed a little bit in the US for Terraforming Mars before the pandemic.
So we overprinted numbers. How many numbers?
We overprinted the number of units we really should have had for like a year or so. So
how much to overprint? I'm curious to know.
We were probably 50% more than we really wanted to have going into 2020.
Hell, that's a lot of cash.
And then the pandemic hits, and we sold out in October. So so the sales figures for Terraforming were 50% higher, like by October for the year, because everybody, it was like a flight to quality, so to speak, right? So people were like looking at like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy that new thing, but you know what? I probably let me bring Terraforming in. I don't own the game, can't play it with my buddies anymore, but I'll play it with my kids and maybe my neighbor and my family and stuff like that. So it was an interesting phenomenon that all of a sudden games that you thought you had plenty of stock on, and we did, boom, sold out. Uwe had a very similar thing happen. Boom, he was sold out halfway through the pandemic.
So who made that mistake? Who made that call?
Not me. I don't make mistakes.
So therefore, one of your employees made the call. You fired the guy because he made a real bad mistake, and by the wine you wanted to buy. So now you're making a lot of cash. Where is that guy now?
He's the CEO of Indie Game Studios. That's Travis. It was his fault.
Not Travis Chance.
No, Travis Worthington. See, nobody knows Travis Worthington. That's why I can make fun of him and talk about him. Nobody knows.
And you were talking about Uwe was talking about non-essential items from Amazon. I ordered at the same day. I ordered 24 cans of Spam, the 25% less sodium, and personal vibrators. And my vibrators haven't come yet. Just the Spam.
I don't need to know about them.
What's that?
I don't need to know about your vibrators.
No, it's because I have carpal tunnel syndrome.
Okay, all right. Take it easy.
What were you thinking about?
Ask
He's got
who.
a weird mind.
This is a child-friendly show, Stephen. I just want you to know that.
It's my stress ball. I'm under a lot of stress.
I got stress balls too. But anyways, what was I going to say? Uva, I was going to say something.
Okay, so we were talking about if sales for companies like us, it went well. Where I'm very happy, well, I'm not happy, but we're talking about how Asmodee bought a lot of other publishers out and everything. And we saw that has helped our market also tremendously for companies like ourselves, because before you had companies like Plaid Hat Games, you had a Fantasy Flight Games. They were pumping out games. And then Asmodee bought them all, and they consolidated it all. And like any consolidation company, there are bumps in the road, and all of a sudden, all these 20 games a year coming out, oh, now it's only 4.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful for us, because all these well-established companies, that's because they were purchased, which were taking away the sales dollars, the Kickstarter times, and everything available, all of a sudden made it much easier for games like ourselves and probably Stronghold to come out and be competitive, because they were buying up the biggest, best competitors we had. And then, of course, in the consolidation process, having to streamline it a lot more. And that's not a down saying on Asmodee, because we had the same I've bought companies, brought them into when I had my steel manufacturing companies and our distribution companies in Europe and all that. When I bought companies out, we tried to keep them, and I made many mistakes. And then when Jarden Corporation bought out 2 of my companies, we were the top in our industry with EBITDAs over 29%. And all of a sudden we're sitting there, and our guys, their hands are tied because we're part of a bigger umbrella. And we learned from that. The bigger umbrella learned from it, and Asmodee is going to learn from that.
Yep.
And they're now going from buying the game companies into buying the distribution companies. And that's where the money is. As my dad always said, Arbeit ist ein Finger von Verkauf.
Yeah.
So it's the arm of effort to build something and a pinky to sell it. And
Very nice.
you know, it's an old saying. I don't know. It doesn't translate that well.
I get it. I understand exactly what you're saying. You're right.
So now Asmodee is bought out Estevium. It's now Asmodee UK. They bought out all the big distributors in Europe. They control distribution in Europe, which makes it great for companies like us, because they're great to work with. Asmodee, and then Asmodee UK or Asia, they're great to work with. So now I think they're really working it where they're working with publishers such as ourselves, instead of saying, why do we need to do all work on the publishing if we control the distribution?
Yep.
That's where the money is.
And Uva, these distributors, are they all Italian?
No. The Asmodee where's Asmodee out of? Is
France.
It a French company or Chinese? Oh, the original owners, though.
France.
Are they French? Okay.
Yeah,
So
the guy's got a last name like Rotipalli, whatever.
Big business is enemy of innovation. Big business is not the enemy of innovation. Consolidating business can often hamper innovation.
That's a very good way of putting it.
And I'm gonna expand on Matthew's idea, and I'm probably gonna go off on a tangent. I never do that. When you big guys, because Uwe, you're a big guy, Stephen, you're still a big guy. You know, don't never do that to a man. Never do that to a man. Never, no. So when you
Dude is the one getting us off point here. You notice that?
He said point. Look, excuse the pun. Anyways, when you big guys, you corporate greedy monsters, rip up the other companies, take them in, what happens to well-loved games? For example, I can say it now, Victory Point Games, Alan Emmerich sold to... anyways, it's a new Victory Point Games. And a lot of the games that I love, Zulus on the Ramparts, the Ottoman Sunset, Habsburg Eclipse, even Dawn of the Zed 2nd edition, I find is better than the 3rd edition, but that's just my opinion. So what happens to those well-loved games that people like me Regular, normal people like me, not you big CEOs, with the teeth. What happens to those titles? Uva?
Go ahead, Stephen.
It depends on. Okay, so I mean, it depends.
Is it all about money? Is it all about money, Stephen?
No. Well, you're saying when a company changes hands or gets taken over. Well, okay, you could say it's all about money. You can't. Okay, if the company that was acquired had 5,000 units in stock, well, there's no reason to reprint it. They're going to try to sell out what's left. If they've got a little stock, you look at the demand, you reprint it. Yes, it's all about money. I mean, we run businesses.
Yes.
To make money. I mean, you have to go into a business with the mindset that this is going to make money. If you make money, you survive, you can eat, start with that. But then you can innovate, right? Then you can do your next project. You start out small with a little bit of money and you build, you get more, you can take more chances and do things. So the short answer is, yeah, it's about money and how you can position those titles if they're worth bringing back or not. If the market isn't big enough, the demand isn't big enough, they can't. Then maybe you can even sell it to a company that might want to take a risk on something that doesn't have a lot of demand.
Yeah, I think the buying out other companies, and I've talked about this in other shows, and I kind of upset some people, but my background when I did my master's just in corporate acquisition, corporate valuations. So from that standpoint, that was my main thing because I was buying, selling companies there till I retired and went into the gaming industry heavy. But the problem is that, again, with like Stronghold Games, what I was saying before, what is Stronghold Games worth? At the time Steven sold it, Stronghold Games worth was his agreement to be able to have the rights for terraforming Mars to perpetuity or whatever for English language worldwide. That was worth money. But all the other games he did, where he was just doing the English version of this European copy that then dies out, that has no assets that I, as someone buying out his company, am going to give him money for. And that's where you saw Asmodee doing a buying spree, and now that's pulled back. I've seen other people, and it all started out, I think, when Steve Jackson had their big ogre, huge selling. It was huge money when they did 360,000 sales for
over $1 million.
Like, oh my God, yeah, it was an over $1 million, and it was going out that they were looking acquisitions and all. And I think the acquisitions of other companies are going to slow down quite a bit because it comes down, and I've said it in the past, the net present value, a 10-year net present value of a company, which normally what net present value of a company that you're going to buy and pay for, that evaluation does not hold in the board game industry because so many games are coming out. What games that you're buying the licenses for are still going to be selling in 10 years where you can get net present value for?
That is exactly right.
3 years.
That is spot on. If you don't have a game that is true evergreen, and if you don't have uber evergreen, your company doesn't have value. Stronghold was fortunate enough to have that, and therefore had value to someone. That's exactly right.
And they have to realize, if I'm going to pay money for your company, the money I'm investing in your company has to give me a return of a T-bill, a good paying T-bill, plus another 6% plus a beta risk rating.
That's a very advanced economic statement you just made.
In today's terms, if I'm not going to earn 12% on my investment money minimum in any company I'm buying nowadays, I'm not going to buy it.
Why would you when you can put that exact amount of money and make that kind of return someplace else with less risk or with equal risk?
Yeah, exactly. And in the gaming market, where an average game, the life of game used to be 9 to 12 months in the store industry, it's now down to like 5 to 6 weeks. You're hot and then it just dives. So whatever you're selling the first 6 months of your average game coming out, that's going to be a majority of their sales. And that's why a lot of these companies now are going through distress. And I think it's a shakeup in the world market. You see like the Czech games. I mean, they keep on coming out with hit after hit. People like that, the Phalanx in Poland. Look at what happened to Mayfair. Poof.
What happened to Mayfair?
Gone.
Who took them?
Poof.
Well, Asmodee bought the important portion of it, and then
the rights for,
then it was gone. Catan.
They bought the rights for Settlers of Catan. All the other work they did, all that. What was it worth?
They didn't buy at first. They didn't buy it, and then at the end they did buy it, which was very odd that the way that went down. But I think Larry Rosnai, who was the president, I think he made his money in the first sale, kept Mayfair going a little bit, and then Asmodee bought the rest a year, 2 years later, and then Larry retired. So it was an interesting way of going down. But you're right. Everything you just said is right, and that's a lesson right there for anybody who owns a hobby game publishing company that thinks that they're sitting on this huge jackpot. What are you making on the games that sell over time? Everything else you're doing has got very, very little value. Some, but little. Very good.
So my last question to both of you is, because I know it's Sunday night and we want to go to sleep because we're old.
I wake up. I always wake up at 9. I get my best thinking going from 9 to like 1. I don't know about you, Stephen, but I just go on overdrive.
No, I need another beer coming up.
Oh. Yeah, everybody's down my cup, but it's
you're drinking water. I know you.
What the hell was my question?
Yes, Dan. You just like pulled questions out of your vibrators.
Well, that's what I love about me, the spontaneity of my genius.
Of course.
Oh man, I was gonna ask a question. I totally forgot. It was a good question too. Oh well. How about those Habs?
How about them Habs?
Hey.
I don't know what Habs are, but
you don't know what Habs are, eh? If you were here, Ufa, I punch you right in the knee.
All I care about is that Dortmund won incredible game yesterday. Holland and then Schalke won their first game of like the season, and 2 of the goals were done by young American. The Americans are making their mark in European Bundesliga soccer.
It's a Bundesliga.
What else is there?
Ooh, I like that.
Of course, there's the Crew in Ohio, American champs. But let's get back to the gaming.
Okay, well, no, I had a last question. It was a good one, and I forgot because my mind probably went on to more genial things. Oh, Stephen! Yeah.
He pulled a muscle just saying my name. That's scary, dude.
So Stephen and Uva, this we're gonna see here. Stephen, some guy comes up to you, and he's a war game designer. Okay, right away you're reticent. Right away. But you take a look at the game, and it's really something. But Stronghold Games doesn't do war games. Who are you gonna call?
Uva. I was gonna say Ghostbusters. That was too easy.
No. But why don't you print it yourself?
First of all, we did Fog of War with Jeff Engelstein. So we have done at least one actual war game.
That's right.
Did again? I gotta talk in past tense. I did do one actual war game. I've done other games that have war components to them. Australia, of course, which is a Waro, right? War game, Euro game, very much a hybrid game by Martin Wallace, one of my absolute favorite designers and good friends. So I think the Stronghold model was be in every market possibly. Just get games that are just great in every possible genre out there so that any gamer would go and look and say, oh, what is Stronghold doing in war games? What is Stronghold doing in heavy Euro? So yeah, I absolutely, if I saw a great light war game, I absolutely would do it, as in I did Fog of War or
right. Okay.
So I would. But when I don't, when I see something and I'm like, ooh, that's a little too big, I have many times sent games to my friends.
You just don't drop, you don't drop the person and say, sorry, this game is not for us. Go take a nice walk on the freeway.
If the game is not good, I might just say, I don't think this is really right for us.
Right, because
I'm not going to say, oh, hey, Uwe, take a look at this crappy game. But I remember at least one time, and I can't remember what game it was, that I sent a game to Uwe, and he looked at it for a while. I don't know if you did it. I don't think you did.
No.
But you looked at it, and you liked it on some level, too. So we, again, it goes back to the first question of the show. Like, we are friendly competitors. And though, $1 that you don't spend with me, you know, $1 you spend over at Uwe might not be one you spend with me. We still want to see, us all do well and survive. We want to see, we want to see all the boats floating higher and higher and higher, together. So we do that. We send games over to other people that it might be more appropriate for. Sometimes because we're asked, but very many times we say, like, you know what? Not me, but go check out Academy Games. This historical simulation was really kind of good for them. I would do that in a heartbeat if I found a game that made sense.
We do that also. About 30% of the good ones that I get, I pass on to other publishers because I'm not going to do a light party game or something like that, but I'll pass on to like R&R or somebody like that. Saying that, why do we do that in the game industry? It isn't because, like Steven said, if he gives it to me, he may be $1 less and it goes to me, but he does it because he likes me. Not at all. That's not why we do it. We do it because we're in a very unique industry in that the more a good company, such as Stronghold and other games like that, the more good games that hit the market, the more people are going to be playing games. And if I sell a game at a convention, does not mean they're not going to buy Steven's game. It's not like a car company. It's not like Ford and Mercedes or something like that. You know, what am I going to buy next? It's either Ford, Mercedes. No, in our world, it's
you
like,
buy both.
I'm going to buy the Ford. Oh, I just got a Mercedes, and I hear they're two good Hyundais over there, you know, or whatever people buy. If it's not Salve, I don't buy it. But I'm the cheap German. I buy the cheap German cars. In North Carolina, so don't give me any crap, people. Made in America.
Thanks a lot for doing this. It was a lot of fun.
It was great.
I learned a lot, but the thing is that we can go on for.
I want to say one more thing. We were talking about Kickstarter, and there are questions in here. Kickstarters, I think, are becoming the norm because of companies. Stronghold Big Games, you sold through distribution, also through wholesale and all that. We need to make more than 34% on the dollar or 40 cents on the dollar.
Absolutely.
You have to buy the inventory and everything else. And since there are two models, you can go that I'm only going to sell directly myself, selling direct through Amazon or my website, and you're going to sell games. But for us, when we come out with a new game, if I don't sell 20,000 copies in the first 18 months of any game we put out, I have a problem. So we go for worldwide distribution. So that's why we have the full distribution marketing model. But with the euro, the VAT tax, when we bring stuff into Europe, half the time we have to cover the VAT and everything and it's getting worse because everybody wants Euro friendly, UK friendly, Australia friendly. We're eating all the import and custom taxes and everything else. The new laws coming out now where they're going to say, no, we're not going to, from now on, charge you the VAT on your production costs like we've done till now. They're going online now, checking what the MSRP is. They're saying, yeah, even if this game costs you this much, we're going to charge you the full MSRP, even if your Kickstarter only made this. So we are now going to be coming in 19% VAT tax onto Kickstarter games, et cetera, to 21%. England, you never know what's going on. So same with Australia. It's happening all over the place. So the future of the Kickstarter is going to be very, very interesting to see what happens, and sales in general, because distribution is getting tough. you know, Stephen, how hard it is to get our games distributed in Europe. Who is there? There's Happy Shops does a good job. In England, they're two good fulfillment companies, but who else does fulfillment?
Right.
We've done some very unique things selling directly sent from China. We tried it. Everything going to the UK for us last Kickstarter was shipped from China directly.
Wow.
Everything sent to Australia, we shipped directly from China, testing it.
Is that a cost-saving measure?
Why else would we do it? So we don't have to pay the goddamn VAT coming in.
Now, hold on a second. I'm not a business guy, and I'm probably going to say something.
Goddamn, but I get so irritated when all of a sudden people making up. You know how much money we lost on this last Kickstarter because emergency COVID penalty charges? I was paying an extra $24 on top of the high import taxes going into Brazil.
So
it hit us, you know.
So Uwe, you might want to talk with some people that, I mean, I don't know exactly every piece of what you're talking about, but we add VAT. You know, we have a price to that you buy into the Kickstarter, but we say shipping and VAT is going to be added later, and here is going to be the approximate costs.
But
and
then you're no longer Euro friendly.
I never had to deal with that portion of our Kickstarter, so I don't know. So
it was never
it's rough. The whole VAT thing and the shipping thing in Europe is so hard.
Yeah, and right now it's so the Kickstarters, I think, guys, are going to change. And thank you, Matthew. I'm going to change. I've been changing my name on the screen throughout the whole show. I'm going to, but anyway, so from the Kickstarters, there's so many Kickstarters coming out, but a lot of the games that don't find publishers because they really are subpar, good games do not sell anymore. Incredible games are the only games that will sell anymore.
Good point.
Sell 10, 15 years ago and be successful today will no longer be successful because there's so many games coming out that are above average. So if you're coming out with a great game going, oh, this is better than Panzer Blitz, well, that was 1972. You come out with Panzer Blitz today, you think you can sell 40,000 copies? Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
So it's the Kickstarters, there's a lot of crap coming through, but you know how many games do not make it through Kickstarter? And then they sell 300 copies. Who cares? But it is hitting us because there's so much bandwidth being taken up with so much stuff.
Yep.
And nowadays, it isn't like a few years ago where you could come out and say, I've got this great idea, or look at this. Some people still try it. Now you have to have a full video made that is mostly digitized. It's got to be good. Everything's got to be down, planned to the T. Your miniatures have to be fully STL graphically there. So it turns people on, because otherwise you're going to get lost, because the games that are selling, they're putting it all in. So the people who are successful on Kickstarters aren't the people like in the past who Kickstarter was made for people starting from scratch, trying to work their way up. The people who are successful on Kickstarter are companies like us that are using Kickstarter as, number one, a marketing vehicle, and number two, the way to survive so that we can continue to make exceptional games that meet beyond expectations.
Okay, you got so many ideas. I have one question, and let's keep it tight. This one question, Uwe, what's wrong with P500ing something? Or
it's perfect. It's a great thing. And what GMT does, they got it right. GMT, what their benefit is over anybody else in the wargame market is they've got, like, I think last time I talked to Andy, or they, I think, have like 78,000 different titles in their warehouse. I'm kidding.
Of course.
They've got so many that they have in their just regular, even if people only buy 5 a month of a title, they have so many titles that their fixed costs are covered. So they can go out and say, I'm doing a P500. We hit the P500 that pays for our costs, and then they come out with the game and publish it. Whereas Steve and I, when we're going through, we're expecting the UK to buy 500 copies of game minimum, if not 1,000 or 2,000. So it's a different thing. They're making their money because they've got this great breadth of incredible games. I mean, a third of my games are GMT games because they've been around and they put out tons of games. The difference is, though, is the quantity of the games sold. Out of every 20 games sold, one will hit it big. But who cares when you got so many good games?
Yeah.
So the P500 works for GMT because they've got the basis. They've got so many good titles they can do it. For any other company starting out doing it, they'll go bankrupt doing that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And they started it, they created it. It's not copyable. It's not mimicable by another company right now.
Company, yeah,
it's just not.
Now, in 5 years, when we're 10% the number of titles that GMT has, maybe we try something like that. But until then, hopefully, GMT, we're in negotiations that they're going to buy us out for $20 million. And
I'm about to say, aren't you going to retire in about that many years?
NDA on that. What?
Why are you not retired? You're like so wealthy. I know you're so well. You got to retire.
12 years ago.
You retired. So why don't you hand the reins over to somebody else and just hang out here in Florida? We'll drink good scotch and things like that. Come on, Uwe.
Come on.
That's why I got Gunta. Gunta.
That's right. You have a son. You don't even have to like sell the company. Just hand it over to him and let's come over to Florida. We'll hang out.
He's got more and more inventory. I like being the cold. I like the north.
Your son is wonderful, by the way. Wonderful guy.
Yeah. You guys have hurricanes and stuff, but no.
So that's overblown, really.
When's the last time you heard of anything bad happening in Ohio? Really? You can.
When's the last time you heard anything good happening in Ohio?
Well, okay. No,
we have great weather here, 365 days a year. Okay,
we had
wonderful
4 degrees outside. It was like summertime. We're walking around. My wife was saying, "It's so warm. I only need a sweater." It's like beautiful. It was 34 degrees. You know, it was great.
It was cold today. It almost didn't make 70 degrees.
Ooh.
Guys, my beer is empty. Okay.
I know. We gotta go. Come on.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for being here. Stick around. Thank you, people from the chat. This was very nice. We've actually had probably the biggest crowd I've ever had. And
because of Bonacore. No, because
the campaign is phenomenal.
And I'm telling you, the title was the most boring thing. You know, the challenges of a publisher. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, guys, very interesting. Like I said, we can talk about this for a million years. Stick around. Chat. Thank you very much.
I just want to say, yes, you do pay the fees and taxes when you go in. But if a distributor buys it from you, you pay it. See ya.
Bye, everybody. Dan, he lost control of the whole thing.
But I can see every hair follicle left on the top of your head.
That's my new camera.
Oh, his hair or my hair?
His. Duce's.
Yeah. This is my new camera, man. Check this out.
Oh my God! Oh no! You saw the nose hairs.
Wow.
Bye.
Okay, stick around. Where then?